Every September, churches across Mizoram, its story takes us back more than 100 years. Deep in the green hills of Mizoram, a story of faith began more than 100 years ago. This is the story of Beihrual. In 1891, the gospel reached the Mizo people. Then came great seasons of revival. In 1906 and 1913, many turned to Christ, and the church began. But after some years, the revival began to fade. The church grew weaker. Yet some faithful believers across the mountains of Mizoram.
Then came seasons of revival.
In 1906, and again in 1913, many people turned to Christ. The church grew. Faith became strong. But the spiritual fire would not remain strong forever. After some years, the revival began to fade. The church became weaker. Many believers became discouraged. But some remained faithful. They continued to pray. They continued to serve. And they waited for God to move again. They knew the church needed more than activity. It needed renewed faith. It needed prayer. It needed believers to strengthen one another. Then, in March 1918, an important decision was made in Aizawl. The presbytery decided that a special month of Christian mission and spiritual renewal would begin in June. A new movement was about to begin. It would become known as Beihrual. On the first night of June 1918, the believers gathered. They prayed. They worshipped.
They encouraged one another.
And slowly, something began to change. Beihrual called people to look into their own hearts,
To confess their sins.
to renew their commitment, and to give themselves completely to Christ. They wrote down their commitments. They promised to serve God more faithfully. And their dedication became more than words. It became action. Everyone had a part. The young reached the young. The old encouraged the old. Families reached families. They walked through the rain. They crossed the hills. They were not afraid. They went because they believed. And the result was remarkable. From different villages across Mizoram, 344 people publicly committed themselves to Christ. The first Beihrual had made its mark.
The believers continued to pray. They continued to work.
And in 1919, another great revival swept through the Mizo church. Prayer had become a pathway to renewal. Over the years, the date of Beihrual changed. June, September, January, April.
But from 1925 onward, September became the month of Beihrual. And the tradition continued.
Over time, Beihrual became more than reaching those who did not yet believe. It became a time to strengthen believers, to unite the church, to build Christian families,
to support mission work, and to serve society. Because faith does not begin only inside a church.
it begins at home, around the family, from one generation to another. Beihrual also reminds the church to look beyond itself. There are still people to reach, villages to serve, and communities that need hope. Now we come to September 2026. More than a century has passed since the first Beihrual, but the purpose remains: to pray, to renew, to serve, and to reach others with the love of Christ. From an oil lamp in a bamboo house to the lights of a modern church.
From a small group of believers to generations of Christians.
The world has changed. Mizoram has changed. But the call to faith remains. Beihrual began in 1918 with prayer, dedication, and a desire for revival. Today, the story continues through.
So this September, let us pray together. Let us grow together. Let us serve together.
And let us carry the light of Christ into every home, every village, and every community. Because Beihrual is not only a tradition from the past, it is a calling for today.